The sound of Patricia Johnson hitting the hardwood floor echoed through their tiny apartment like a gunshot. Her prosthetic leg lay in 3 pieces beside her, the metal joint completely shattered after months of wearing down. 8-year-old Kira watched in horror as her mother tried to pull herself up using the couch, tears streaming down both their faces. "Mama, please don't cry," Kira whispered, rushing to help her mother back onto the couch. But Patricia's shoulders shook with the weight of desperation. "Baby, I can't go to work today. Without my leg, I can't clean those office buildings. And if I don't work..." Patricia's voice broke. They both knew what that meant. No work meant no money for rent, no money for food, no money for anything. Kira had watched her mother struggle for months. Patricia worked 3 cleaning jobs, starting at 4 a.m. and finishing at 8 p.m., just to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. She never complained about the pain in her remaining leg or how tired she was. She just smiled and told Kira that everything would be fine. But now, looking at the broken prosthetic, Kira knew everything was not fine. "Mama, what if we ask someone to fix it?" Kira suggested, picking up the pieces of the artificial limb. "Honey, we don't have money for repairs. These things cost thousands of dollars." Patricia wiped her eyes and tried to smile. "We'll figure something out." But Kira had already made up her mind. She remembered walking past Rodriguez Auto and Machine Shop on her way to school. The sign outside always said, "We fix everything," and there was always a nice man in coveralls working on cars. Maybe he could fix her mama's leg too. The next morning, while Patricia slept fitfully on the couch, Kira carefully wrapped the broken prosthetic pieces in her school backpack. She left a note saying she'd gone to school early, but instead walked the 12 blocks to Rodriguez Auto and Machine Shop. The morning sun cast long shadows across the industrial district as Kira approached the large garage. Her heart pounded as she saw the man she'd noticed before, tall, with kind brown eyes and strong hands that seemed to fix everything they touched. She didn't know that James Rodriguez was worth over $50 million, that he owned a chain of high-end restoration shops across the state. To her, he was just a mechanic who might be able to help her mama. James was underneath a classic 1967 Mustang when he heard small footsteps approaching his work area. He rolled out from under the car and saw a little girl with neat braids and big hopeful eyes standing beside his workbench. "Excuse me, sir?" Kira's voice was barely above a whisper. James immediately set down his tools and gave her his full attention. Something about the child's serious expression told him this wasn't a casual visit. "What can I do for you, young lady?" Kira carefully removed the broken prosthetic from her backpack, her small hands shaking as she placed the pieces on his workbench. "Sir, my mother's prosthetic leg broke and she can't walk to her workplace. Will you build it?" The simple question hit James like a physical blow. He stared at the broken device, then at the earnest face of the little girl who had walked miles to ask a stranger for help. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Kira Johnson. And my mama is Patricia Johnson. She cleans office buildings, but now she can't work because her leg broke. We don't have money to fix it, but I thought maybe..." Her voice trailed off as she looked up at him hopefully. James knelt down to her level, his heart breaking at the trust in her eyes. "Kira, this isn't the kind of thing I usually work on, but I know people who can help. Where is your mother right now?" "At home. She's trying not to cry because she thinks it will make me sad. But I'm already sad because she's hurt and we can't fix it." The honesty in Kira's voice made James's decision for him. He stood up and walked to his office, returning with his keys and jacket. "Kira, I'm going to close my shop right now and you're going to take me to meet your mother. We're going to fix this and I don't want you to worry about money. Sometimes people help each other just because it's the right thing to do." As they walked to his truck, James couldn't stop thinking about the courage it must have taken for this little girl to approach a stranger and ask for help. He'd spent years building his business empire, but somehow he knew that helping Patricia and Kira Johnson was going to be the most important work he'd ever done. The drive to their apartment took 15 minutes, but it felt like a journey into a completely different world. James had grown up wealthy, had always lived in nice neighborhoods with manicured lawns and security gates. The apartment complex where the Johnsons lived was clean but worn, with children playing in small yards and neighbors greeting each other like family. "That's our window," Kira pointed to a second-floor apartment. "Mama might be sleeping because she was up crying last night." James felt something shift inside his chest. In all his years of success and wealth, he'd never encountered such genuine need paired with such dignity. He was about to meet a woman who worked 3 jobs just to survive, and her daughter who loved her enough to walk miles asking strangers for help. As they climbed the stairs to apartment 2B, James Rodriguez knew his life was about to change forever. Patricia Johnson had spent the morning trying to convince herself that somehow everything would work out. She'd called her supervisor at the cleaning company to explain why she couldn't come to work, her voice steady despite the panic in her chest. Now she sat on the couch, staring at the broken prosthetic pieces and wondering how she was going to provide for Kira. The knock on her door startled her. She wasn't expecting anyone, and Kira should still be at school. Using her crutches, she made her way to the door and looked through the peephole. Kira stood in the hallway next to a tall man in work clothes. Patricia's heart skipped a beat. Where had her daughter been, and who was this stranger? She opened the door, trying to stand as tall as possible on her crutches. Kira Elizabeth Johnson, where have you been? Mama, this is Mr. Rodriguez. He's going to help us fix your leg. James stepped forward, his hat in his hands. Mrs. Johnson, I'm James Rodriguez. Your daughter came to my shop this morning asking for help. I hope you don't mind that I brought her home. I wanted to meet you and see how I could help. Patricia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. Her daughter had gone begging to strangers. Kira, you can't just bother people with our problems. Mr. Rodriguez, I'm so sorry. She shouldn't have troubled you. Ma'am, she didn't trouble me at all. May I come in? I'd like to discuss how we can get you back to work as soon as possible. Patricia hesitated, then stepped aside. Their small apartment was clean but sparse: a couch, a small TV, a dining table with two mismatched chairs. The walls were decorated with Kira's school artwork and a few family photos. James looked around and saw a home filled with love despite having so little money. The apartment was spotless, and everywhere he looked, he saw evidence of a mother who cared deeply for her child. Mr. Rodriguez, I appreciate you bringing Kira home, but we can't afford to pay for prosthetic repairs. Those things cost more than I make in 3 months. Mrs. Johnson, what if I told you that cost isn't an issue? I know the best prosthetic specialists in the state. I can have someone here this afternoon to fit you with a new leg, better than the one that broke. Patricia sank onto the couch, overwhelmed. Sir, I don't understand. Why would you do that for strangers? James sat in the chair across from her, his expression sincere. Because your daughter showed incredible courage coming to ask for help. Because you've raised an amazing little girl despite facing challenges I can't imagine. And because sometimes people help each other just because it's the right thing to do. Kira climbed onto the couch next to her mother. See, Mama? I told you Mr. Rodriguez would help us. Patricia looked at her daughter's hopeful face, then at this stranger who seemed genuinely interested in helping them. Mr. Rodriguez, I can't possibly accept charity. I work for everything we have. This isn't charity, Mrs. Johnson. Think of it as an investment in your future and Kira's. You clearly work hard and take care of your responsibilities. All I'm doing is removing one obstacle so you can keep doing what you're already doing. James pulled out his phone. I'm going to call Dr. Wilson right now. He's the best prosthetic specialist I know. He makes custom legs for athletes and veterans. He'll come here today and make sure you have exactly what you need. Patricia started to protest again, but James held up his hand gently. Mrs. Johnson, let me ask you something. If Kira needed help and you had the resources to provide it, would you hesitate? Of course not. I'd do anything for my daughter. Then please let me do this for both of you. Kira deserves to see her mother walk with confidence, and you deserve to work without pain or worry about your prosthetic failing. As James made the phone call, Patricia watched her daughter's face light up with hope for the first time in weeks. Maybe, just maybe, this stranger really could help them. Dr. Wilson arrived 3 hours later with a van full of equipment. He was a cheerful man in his 50s who immediately put Patricia at ease. James called me about your situation, Dr. Wilson said as he examined Patricia's residual limb. I'm going to make you the most comfortable, durable prosthetic you've ever had. This is going to change your life. While Dr. Wilson worked, James played games with Kira and asked about her school and her dreams. He learned that she wanted to be an engineer like her late father, who had died in a construction accident when she was 5. Your daddy would be so proud of you, James told her. Taking care of your mama like you do shows real strength. When Dr. Wilson finished fitting the new prosthetic, Patricia stood up and took her first steps. The difference was immediate: no pain, perfect balance, and the confidence that this device wouldn't break under normal use. How does it feel? James asked, watching her walk across the room with tears in her eyes. Like I got my life back, Patricia whispered. I can work again. I can take care of Kira properly. James smiled, but he wasn't finished helping them yet. While Patricia practiced walking, he quietly stepped outside and made several more phone calls. When he returned, he had a grocery list in his hand. Mrs. Johnson, I noticed your refrigerator is a bit empty. While we're taking care of the important things, let's make sure you and Kira have plenty to eat. Mr. Rodriguez, you've already done so much. Please call me James. And this is my pleasure. Kira, wanna help me pick out groceries for your mama? An hour later, their small kitchen was stocked with fresh fruits, vegetables, meat, and all the staples a growing family needed. Patricia couldn't stop the tears as she watched the stranger fill their home with abundance. I don't know how to thank you, she said as James prepared to leave. Just take care of yourself and that remarkable daughter of yours. And Mrs. Johnson? If you ever need anything at all, you call me. He handed her a business card with his personal number written on it. As James drove away, Patricia stood at her window watching his truck disappear down the street. For the first time in months, she felt hope instead of fear about their future. Kira hugged her mother's waist. I told you he would help us, Mama. You did, baby girl. You were very brave today. What Patricia didn't know was that James had made one more phone call from his truck. Tomorrow, her landlord would receive a payment covering their rent for the next 6 months, with a note that it was an anonymous gift from someone who believed in their family. James Rodriguez drove home knowing that his life had just changed in ways he couldn't yet understand. 3 days after receiving her new prosthetic leg, Patricia Johnson walked into her supervisor's office with confidence she hadn't felt in years. The custom device Dr. Wilson had created was so comfortable and natural that she sometimes forgot she was wearing it. Patricia, I'm so glad you're back, her supervisor, Mrs. Collins, said with relief. How are you feeling? Better than I have in months, ma'am. I'm ready to get back to work. But as Patricia returned to her routine of cleaning office buildings, she kept thinking about James Rodriguez and his unexpected kindness. She couldn't shake the feeling that she needed to properly thank him, even though he'd insisted no thanks were necessary. On Friday afternoon, she walked to Rodriguez Auto and Machine Shop with Kira after school. The little girl practically bounced with excitement as they approached the garage. Mr. James? Kira called out as she spotted him working on an engine. James looked up and his face broke into a genuine smile. He wiped his hands on a cloth and walked over to greet them. How's that new leg working out, Mrs. Johnson? Please call me Patricia. And it's working perfectly. I can't thank you enough for what you've done for us. James knelt down to Kira's level. And how's my favorite engineer doing? Kira giggled. I brought you something. She handed him a drawing she'd made at school, a picture of a man fixing a prosthetic leg while a little girl and her mother watched. At the top, she'd written, My hero Mr. James, in careful second-grade handwriting. James felt his throat tighten as he looked at the drawing. Kira, this is the most beautiful thing anyone has ever given me. I'm going to frame it and put it in my office. Really? You're not just saying that. Really? This is going right on my wall where I can see it every day. As they talked, James noticed Patricia looking around his shop with keen interest. She was observing how things were organized, making mental notes about the workflow and efficiency. Your shop is very well organized, Patricia commented. But I notice your paperwork area could use some attention. James laughed. You're absolutely right. I'm great with engines and machines, but keeping track of invoices and schedules isn't my strong suit. My secretary quit last month, and I haven't had time to find a replacement. Patricia hesitated, then took a deep breath. James, I've been thinking about how to properly repay your kindness. I know you said no repayment was necessary, but I need to contribute something. What if I helped organize your office in the evenings after my other jobs? I could do it for free as a way to pay you back. Patricia, you don't owe me anything. Please, let me do this. I need to feel like I'm giving something back. James studied her face and saw the determination there. He realized that accepting her help wasn't really about what she could do for him, it was about preserving her dignity and allowing her to feel like an equal partner in their friendship. Actually, that would be incredibly helpful. But I insist on paying you properly for your time. I need someone I can trust to manage the administrative side of my business. Patricia shook her head. I couldn't accept payment for helping you after everything you've done. Then we have a problem because I can't accept free labor from someone as qualified as you obviously are. How about this? Let me offer you a real job. Full-time administrative assistant, managing my schedule, invoices, customer communications, and office organization. The pay would be better than cleaning jobs, the hours would be regular, and Kira could come here after school instead of going to that after-school program. Patricia stared at him in shock. James, I don't have business experience. But you have organizational skills, attention to detail, and you work harder than anyone I know. Those are exactly the qualities I need. Plus, Kira could learn about mechanics and engineering right here in the shop. Kira tugged on her mother's sleeve. Mama, say yes. Please say yes. Patricia felt overwhelmed by the generosity of the offer, but also worried about accepting too much help. I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. But Patricia, I want you to know that this isn't charity. I genuinely need help running this business and I trust you. You've raised an incredible daughter while working multiple jobs and dealing with physical challenges that would defeat most people. That tells me everything I need to know about your character and work ethic. Over the weekend, Patricia couldn't stop thinking about James's offer. On Monday morning, she made her decision. She gave notice at her cleaning jobs and accepted the position as administrative assistant at Rodriguez Auto and Machine Shop. Her first day was a revelation. The shop was busy and successful, with a steady stream of customers bringing in classic cars for restoration and regular vehicles for repair. But the office was indeed chaotic, invoices scattered everywhere, appointments written on random pieces of paper, and no system for tracking parts orders. Patricia dove into organizing with enthusiasm. Within a week, she had created filing systems, set up a computerized scheduling program, and established procedures for tracking customer communications. The shop began running more smoothly than it ever had. Patricia, you're amazing, James told her at the end of her first week. I can't believe how much you've improved things already. I love this work, Patricia admitted. It feels good to use my mind as well as my hands. Kira had settled into the routine beautifully. She would arrive at the shop after school, do her homework in the office with her mother, and then spend time with James learning about engines and tools. Her natural curiosity and quick mind impressed everyone who met her. One afternoon, as Patricia balanced the monthly accounts and Kira helped James organize his tool chest, Patricia realized something wonderful had happened. They had become a family of choice, not related by blood, but connected by love, respect, and mutual care. James walked into the office carrying 3 ice cream cones. I thought we deserved a celebration. The shop has never been more profitable or better organized. As they sat together enjoying their treat, Patricia felt a contentment she hadn't experienced since her husband's death. But she also felt something else stirring in her heart, feelings for James that went beyond gratitude and friendship. She pushed those thoughts away. James had been so kind to them already. The last thing she wanted was to complicate their relationship by developing romantic feelings for him. But what Patricia didn't know was that James was having the exact same thoughts about her. 2 months into Patricia's job at Rodriguez Auto and Machine Shop, the transformation was remarkable. What had once been a successful but chaotic business was now running like a precision machine. Patricia had implemented systems that increased efficiency by 30%, and customer satisfaction had never been higher. More importantly, the shop had become a warm, welcoming place. Patricia had added personal touches: a coffee station for customers, comfortable seating in the waiting area, and even some of Kira's artwork on the walls. The little girl had become the shop mascot, greeting customers with her bright smile and impressive knowledge of car parts. "Morning, Mrs. Patricia," called Tommy Chin, a regular customer who brought his vintage Camaro in for maintenance. "Is the boss around?" "Good morning, Tommy. James is in Bay 3 working on the Rodriguez special project. Can I help you with something?" Patricia had learned that James often took on pro bono work for families in need, just like he had for them. The Rodriguez special projects were his way of helping people without making them feel embarrassed about accepting charity. "Actually, I wanted to talk to both of you. My wife and I have been so impressed with how you've transformed this place. We're expanding our restaurant, and we need someone to manage our business operations. We'd love to offer you a position." Patricia felt flattered but also conflicted. "That's very kind of you, Tommy, but I'm happy here. The salary would be significantly higher than what you're making now. Think about it, you could provide even better for Kira." After Tommy left, Patricia couldn't stop thinking about his offer. She had always put Kira's needs first, and more money would mean better opportunities for her daughter's education and future. That evening, as she was closing up the office, James knocked on the door frame. "Mind if I come in? I wanted to talk to you about something." Patricia looked up from the invoices she was filing. "Of course. What's on your mind?" James sat down across from her desk, looking uncharacteristically nervous. "I heard about Tommy's job offer." Patricia felt her stomach drop. "James, I hope you don't think I was looking for other work. I love it here. I know you weren't job hunting. But Patricia, I need you to know something. When you and Kira walked into my life, everything changed. This shop used to be just a business to me. Now it's a home. You've made it a place where people feel welcome and cared for." Patricia felt her heart start beating faster. "James? Let me finish, please." I've been thinking about Tommy's offer and about what's best for you and Kira. I can't compete with the salary he's offering, but I want to make you a different kind of proposal. James reached into his desk drawer and pulled out a manila folder. I want to make you a partner in this business. 50-50 ownership. Your name on the sign equals say in all decisions and full profit sharing. Patricia stared at him in shock. James, I can't accept something like that. This is your business, your life's work. No, Patricia. It was my business. Now it's our business. You've contributed just as much to its success as I have. Maybe more. And I want Kira to grow up knowing that her mother owns half of a successful company. Patricia felt tears welling up in her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Say you'll stay and help me build something even better. Say you'll let me be part of your family officially. The word family hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning that neither of them was quite ready to address directly. James, this is too generous. I can't possibly accept. Patricia Johnson, you are one of the most stubborn women I've ever met, James said with a smile. But I'm not taking no for an answer on this. You've earned this partnership through your hard work and dedication. And honestly, I need you. This business wouldn't be the same without you. Patricia looked at the partnership papers in front of her, then at James's earnest face. She thought about Kira, who had found a father figure in James. She thought about how happy she'd been these past 2 months, how fulfilled she felt in this work. Okay, she said quietly. Yes, I'll accept the partnership. James's face broke into a huge grin. Really? Really? But I have one condition. Name it. We changed the name to Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop. James laughed. Deal. Though we might need a bigger sign. They spent the next hour going over the partnership details. James had clearly thought everything through, carefully: profit sharing, decision-making processes, and even provisions for Kira's education fund. There's one more thing, James said as they finished signing the papers. I've been talking to Dr. Wilson about starting a program to help other people who need prosthetic devices but can't afford them. I'd like the shop to sponsor this program. What do you think? Patricia felt her heart swell with affection for this man who seemed to think of everyone but himself. I think it's a wonderful idea. We should call it the Kira Johnson Foundation for Mobility Independence. Perfect. We'll announce it at the partnership celebration next week. As they locked up the shop together, Patricia felt like her life had taken another miraculous turn. 6 months ago, she had been struggling to provide basic necessities for her daughter. Now she was a business owner with the resources to help other families facing similar challenges. James, she said as they reached their cars. Thank you. For everything. Thank you, Patricia. For showing me what really matters in life. As Patricia drove home, she couldn't wait to tell Kira about the partnership. Her daughter had been right that first day. Mr. James really was going to take care of them. But what amazed Patricia most was that somehow, in the process of helping them, James had allowed them to help him too. The Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop was going to be more than just a business. It was going to be a family legacy. Winter arrived early that year, but inside Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop, warmth filled every corner. The partnership had officially launched with a small celebration attended by customers, neighbors, and local business owners. Everyone could see the genuine affection and respect between James and Patricia, though both of them were still carefully maintaining professional boundaries. Kira had blossomed in the shop environment. Now 9 years old, she could identify most car parts by sight and had started helping with simple maintenance tasks under James's careful supervision. Her favorite time was after school, when James would teach her about different types of engines while Patricia finished up the day's administrative work. Mr. James, why do some cars need premium gas and others don't? Kira asked one afternoon as they worked on a customer's BMW. Great question. It has to do with the compression ratio of the engine. Higher performance engines compress the fuel mixture more, which requires fuel that can handle that pressure without pre-igniting. Patricia smiled as she listened to their conversation from her office. James had a gift for explaining complex concepts in ways that Kira could understand, and her daughter's love of learning had found the perfect environment to flourish. The Kira Johnson Foundation for Mobility Independence had also taken off beyond their expectations. Word had spread through social services networks, and they were now helping 2 or 3 families per month with prosthetic devices, mobility aids, and related support. Patricia handled the administrative side while James used his connections in the medical community to ensure people received the best possible care. We have a new application, Patricia told James one evening as they reviewed foundation paperwork together. A teenage boy who lost his leg in a skateboarding accident. His family has insurance, but it only covers basic prosthetics. He wants to play basketball again. Schedule him to meet with Dr. Wilson. If he wants to play basketball, we'll make sure he gets the right equipment to do it safely and effectively. These moments of working together on the foundation always felt especially meaningful to Patricia. She and James shared the same values about helping others, and she could see how much satisfaction he got from making a difference in people's lives. One snowy December evening, Patricia was working late to finish year-end financial reports when she realized she was alone in the shop with James. Kira was at a sleepover with her best friend from school. "Patricia, you've been at this for hours. Take a break." She looked up to see James standing in her office doorway with 2 cups of coffee. "Thanks. I want to get these reports finished before the accountant's appointment tomorrow." James sat down in the chair across from her desk, the same chair he'd sat in that first day when he'd offered her the job. "Can I ask you something personal?" Patricia felt her pulse quicken. "Of course. Are you happy? I mean really happy, not just grateful or content. Are you living the life you want to live?" The question surprised her with its directness. "That's a big question. I've been thinking about it a lot lately. About happiness, about what makes life meaningful. Before you and Kira came into my life, I thought success meant building a profitable business and accumulating wealth. But now what?" James was quiet for a moment, staring into his coffee cup. "Now I think happiness means having people you care about, and knowing that you're making a positive difference in their lives. It means looking forward to each day because you get to spend it with people who matter to you." Patricia felt her heart start racing. Was James saying what she thought he was saying? "I feel the same way," she said softly. "The last 8 months have been the happiest of my life since my husband died. Not just because of financial security, but because of the sense of purpose and belonging I feel here. Patricia, I need to tell you something, and I hope it won't make things awkward between us." She held her breath. "I care about you. Not just as a business partner or a friend, but as a woman I deeply admire and, well, as someone I'm falling in love with." The words hung in the air between them. Patricia felt tears spring to her eyes. "James, I've been having the same feelings, but I was afraid to say anything. You've done so much for Kira and me, and I didn't want you to think I was trying to take advantage of your kindness." James reached across the desk and took her hand. "Patricia, my feelings for you have nothing to do with helping you and Kira. I love your strength, your intelligence, your kindness to others, and the way you've made this shop feel like a real home. I love watching you with Kira and seeing what an amazing mother you are." Patricia squeezed his hand. "I love how patient you are with Kira, how you've become the father figure she needed. I love your generosity and the way you help people without expecting anything in return. And I love how you've made us feel like we belong somewhere." They sat holding hands across the desk, both smiling through tears. "So what do we do now?" James asked. "Now we see where this goes, I guess. But slowly, for Kira's sake. She's already so attached to you. If we're going to explore a romantic relationship, we need to make sure it's built on a solid foundation." "Agreed. Kira's well-being comes first, always." James stood up and walked around the desk. Patricia stood to meet him, and they embraced not as business partners or friends, but as 2 people who had found love in the most unexpected circumstances. "Can I take you to dinner this Saturday?" James asked. "A real date, not just business dinner." Patricia smiled. "I'd like that very much. But fair warning, Kira will want to interrogate you about your intentions when she finds out we're dating. I'm ready for that conversation. In fact, I'm looking forward to it." As they locked up the shop together, Patricia reflected on how much their lives had changed. What had started with a desperate little girl asking for help had become a love story none of them could have anticipated. But the best part was knowing that whatever happened between her and James, Kira would always have a safe, loving environment to grow up in. They had become a family in every way that mattered. Spring brought new challenges to Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop. The business was thriving, the foundation was helping more families than ever, and James and Patricia had been quietly dating for 3 months. Their relationship was developing beautifully, built on mutual respect, shared values, and genuine affection. However, not everyone was pleased with the changes in James's life. The trouble started during a quarterly meeting with James's business investors and partners from his other shop locations. Patricia was preparing the financial reports in her office when she overheard raised voices from the conference room. "James, we need to talk about your recent charitable activities," said Richard Morrison, the primary investor in James's expansion plans. "The money you're spending on this foundation is affecting the bottom line. The foundation operates on less than 2% of our total profits, Richard." hardly enough to impact anyone's return on investment. It's not just the money, interrupted another voice that Patricia recognized as belonging to Stephen Walsh, who owns several luxury car dealerships. It's the image problem. When potential clients see you helping people with disabilities and hiring, well, people from certain backgrounds, it sends the wrong message about our brand. Patricia felt her stomach drop. She moved closer to the door, needing to hear this conversation. What exactly are you suggesting, Stephen? James's voice had turned cold. I'm suggesting that your personal life is affecting your business judgment. This woman you've hired, and her child hanging around the shop, it doesn't project the high-end image our clients expect. Patricia Johnson is my business partner and one of the most capable people I've ever worked with. This shop has never been more profitable or better managed. We're not questioning her work ethic, Richard said smoothly. But James, you have to think about optics. Our clients are successful, wealthy people. They want to do business with people who understand their world. When they see you playing father figure to some cleaning lady's kid. Stop right there. James's voice was deadly quiet. I won't tolerate anyone speaking about Patricia or Kira with disrespect. They are family to me. That's exactly the problem, Stephen continued. You're making emotional decisions instead of business decisions. We've heard rumors that you're romantically involved with this woman. Do you have any idea how that looks? People will think you're having some kind of midlife crisis. Patricia had heard enough. She felt humiliated and angry, but mostly she felt afraid. These men had the power to destroy everything James had built. She couldn't be the reason his business relationships fell apart. Gentlemen, James said firmly, let me be very clear about something. Patricia Johnson and the foundation work are not up for discussion. If you have concerns about profitability, look at the numbers. This shop has exceeded every performance target since Patricia became my partner. Your partner? Richard's voice rose. James, please tell me you haven't actually made this woman an equal partner in your business. That's exactly what I've done, and it's the best business decision I've ever made. There was silence in the room for a moment, then Stephen spoke again. James, we've been friends for 15 years. I'm trying to help you here. This woman and her child, they come from a different world. They don't understand the pressures and expectations of running a multi-million-dollar business. What happens when the media attention dies down and you realize you've tied your success to people who can't keep up? What happens is that I continue building a business I'm proud of with people I trust and respect. And what about expansion? We had plans to open 3 new locations this year. Do you think potential investors are going to fund a business run by a mechanic and a former cleaning lady? Patricia had heard enough. She quietly gathered her things and slipped out the back door of the shop. She needed time to think, and she couldn't face James right now. That evening, James came to her apartment looking worried and upset. Patricia, I saw that you left early. Is everything okay? Kira was in her room doing homework, so Patricia gestured for James to sit down on the couch. I heard the meeting today, James. I heard what your business partners said about me and Kira. James's face darkened. I'm so sorry you had to hear that. They were completely out of line. Were they wrong, though? Am I hurting your business by being your partner? Are you going to lose investment opportunities because of your association with us? Patricia, don't even think about that. Those men don't understand what real success looks like. But they control your financing, don't they? Without their investment, you can't expand the business. James was quiet for a moment. Expansion isn't everything. I'd rather have a smaller business with people I care about than a huge empire built on relationships with people who look down on others. Patricia felt tears welling up. James, I can't be the reason you limit your potential. You had dreams and plans long before we came into your life. My dreams have changed, Patricia. Now they include you and Kira. But what if there was a way for you to have both? What if I stepped back from the partnership? You could buy me out, I could find another job, and you could pursue your expansion plans without any complications. James stared at her in shock. Patricia, please tell me you're not seriously considering that. I'm considering what's best for everyone involved. Maybe your friends are right. Maybe I don't belong in your world. My world is whatever I choose to make it. And I choose to make it include the people I love. Before Patricia could respond, Kira appeared in the living room doorway in her pajamas. Mr. James, are you and Mama fighting? James immediately knelt down to Kira's level. No, sweetheart. We're just talking about some business stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. But Mama looks sad. And you look worried. Patricia wiped her eyes and forced a smile. I'm fine, baby. Just tired. Kira climbed onto the couch between them. Mr. James, you're not going to stop being our family, are you? Because we love you and I don't want anything to change. James looked at Patricia over Kira's head, his eyes pleading with her to reconsider her thoughts about stepping away. Kira, I love you and your mama more than anything in the world. Nothing is going to change that. Promise? I promise. After James left that night, Patricia lay awake thinking about the conversation she'd overheard. She had worked so hard to build a life of dignity and independence for herself and Kira. The last thing she wanted was to become a liability to the man who had given them so much. But she also couldn't ignore the way Kira had looked at James, or the love she'd seen in his eyes when he promised her daughter that nothing would change. The next morning, Patricia made a decision. She would stay and fight for the life they had built together. But she would also prove to James's business associates that they had underestimated both her capabilities and her value to the company. If they wanted to judge her based on her background, she would show them what a former cleaning lady could accomplish when given the chance. The next few weeks brought a whirlwind of activity to Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop. Patricia had decided to channel her hurt and anger into making the business so successful that James's partners would have no choice but to respect her contributions. She started by reaching out to potential new clients, not just individual car owners, but corporate accounts that could bring in steady, high-volume business. Her approach was professional, thorough, and focused on building long-term relationships rather than quick profits. James, I've scheduled meetings with 3 fleet management companies this week, Patricia announced one Monday morning. They manage vehicles for hospitals, delivery services, and construction companies. If we can secure even one of these accounts, it would increase our monthly revenue by 30%. James looked up from the engine he was working on, impressed. How did you identify these companies? Research. I spent the weekend studying our local business directory and reaching out to companies that might need reliable automotive services. I also prepared detailed proposals showing how our quick turnaround times and quality work could save them money on vehicle downtime. Kira, who was organizing parts in the supply room, chimed in. Mama made spreadsheets with colors and everything. She showed me how to calculate percentages too. James smiled at both of them. Patricia's business acumen continued to amaze him, and Kira's involvement in every aspect of the shop had become one of his favorite parts of each day. The first fleet meeting was with Mercy General Hospital, which maintained 30 vehicles including ambulances, patient transport vans, and administrative cars. Patricia had prepared a presentation that demonstrated how their specialized prosthetic foundation work proved their commitment to the medical community. Mrs. Johnson, said the fleet manager, Michael Torres, I have to say your proposal is the most comprehensive we've received. And frankly, knowing that your shop supports people with mobility challenges resonates with our mission as a hospital. Within 2 hours, they had signed a contract that would bring in more business than the shop had ever handled before. Patricia, this is incredible, James said as they reviewed the contract terms. You've just secured enough work to keep us busy for the next 6 months. This is just the beginning. I want to show your business partners that we're not just a charity case, we're a profitable, professional operation that happens to also help people in need. The second meeting with a construction company went equally well. The third, with a package delivery service, resulted in another significant contract. By the end of the month, Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop had tripled its monthly revenue. But more importantly, Patricia had transformed the business model from reactive repairs to proactive maintenance partnerships. You know what this means? James asked as they looked at the month's financial reports. It means we're going to need more space and probably another mechanic, Patricia replied. It means we don't need Richard Morrison or Stephen Walsh anymore. We can fund our own expansion. Patricia felt a surge of satisfaction. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that thanks to your business development skills, we're in a position to tell my former partners that we don't need their investment or their opinions about who belongs in our company. Just then, Kira burst into the office carrying a trophy she'd received at school. Mama, Mr. James, look what I won. The trophy was for first place in her school's science fair. Her project had been about different types of prosthetic devices and how they worked, inspired by her mother's experience and the foundation's work. Kira, this is amazing. James picked her up and spun her around. Tell us about your project. I built a model showing how different prosthetic legs work for different activities. I interviewed 3 people who use prosthetics, including Mama, and I demonstrated how the right device can help people do anything they want to do. Patricia felt tears in her eyes as she looked at her daughter's proud face. What did your teacher say about it? She said it was the most inspiring project she'd ever seen, and that I showed real understanding of engineering principles. She also said I should consider applying to the summer science program at the university. James and Patricia exchanged glances. The summer science program was prestigious and expensive, designed for gifted students who showed exceptional promise in STEM fields. Sweetheart, that sounds wonderful, Patricia said carefully. Let me look into the program and see what's involved. Later that evening, after Kira had gone to bed, Patricia researched the summer program. It was indeed expensive, more than she could afford even with her increased income from the partnership. What's the total cost? James asked when she shared her findings. $3,000 for 6 weeks, plus transportation and materials. It's amazing opportunity, but what? Patricia, this is exactly the kind of program Kira should be in. James, I can't keep letting you pay for everything. You've already done so much for us. Patricia, we're partners in this business. More than that, we're family. Kira's education is an investment in all our futures. I need to contribute something. What if I take on extra administrative projects to earn the tuition money? James smiled. Actually, I have a better idea. What if we make Kira's participation in the program part of our foundation's work? She could document her experience and create materials to encourage other kids from underserved communities to pursue STEM education. Patricia considered this. That way, her participation serves a larger purpose beyond just her own education. Exactly. And it establishes a new branch of our foundation work, educational opportunities for children who show promise in fields related to our mission. As they planned out this new initiative, Patricia realized something wonderful had happened. They weren't just talking about helping Kira anymore, they were talking about expanding their impact to help other families facing similar challenges. James, do you realize what we've built here? What do you mean? We started with a broken prosthetic leg and now we have a thriving business, a foundation that's helped dozens of families, and we're planning educational programs for kids. We've created something that's bigger than any of us individually. James reached over and took her hand. We've created a family business in the truest sense. And Patricia, I want you to know something. When I told Richard Morrison and Stephen Walsh that I didn't need their investment, I meant it. But what I really meant was that I don't need anything except you, Kira, and the life we're building together. Patricia squeezed his hand. I feel the same way. This shop, this foundation, this family, it's everything I never knew I wanted. As they sat in the quiet office surrounded by the papers and plans for their growing enterprise, Patricia reflected on how much their lives had changed. But the most amazing part wasn't the financial success or business growth. The most amazing part was that they had found each other and created something beautiful together. Summer arrived with Kira's acceptance into the university science program, and the Rodriguez-Johnson Auto and Machine Shop was busier than ever. The fleet contracts Patricia had secured were running smoothly, and word of their excellent service had spread throughout the business community. But it was during this time of success that Patricia faced one of her biggest challenges since getting her new prosthetic leg. It started with a simple slip in the shop's bathroom. Patricia caught herself before falling, but she felt something shift in her prosthetic attachment. Over the next few days, she noticed increasing discomfort and realized the device needed adjustment. I need to call Dr. Wilson, she told James one afternoon after Kira had left for her science program. My prosthetic isn't fitting quite right. Of course. Want me to drive you to his office? No, I can handle it. It's probably just a minor adjustment. But when Patricia arrived at Dr. Wilson's clinic, the news wasn't as simple as she'd hoped. Patricia, you've been very active since getting this prosthetic, Dr. Wilson explained as he examined the device and her residual limb. The good news is that your increased activity level shows how well you've adapted. The challenging news is that your limb has changed shape slightly due to muscle development, and we need to refit the socket. How long will that take? About a week to 10 days. I'll need to take new measurements, create a new socket, and then do a series of fittings to make sure everything is perfect. Patricia felt her heart sink. A week without her prosthetic meant a week of using crutches, of being less mobile, of potentially not being able to do her job effectively. Is there any way to speed up the process? We're in the middle of several big projects at work. Dr. Wilson shook his head kindly. I understand the inconvenience, but I won't compromise on the quality of your device. A poorly fitted prosthetic can cause long-term damage and pain. You've been through enough challenges, let's make sure this is done right. Patricia returned to the shop on crutches, trying to maintain her usual efficiency despite the mobility limitations. She didn't want anyone to see this as a setback or a sign of weakness. Patricia, why don't you work from home this week? James suggested when he saw her struggling to navigate the shop floor safely. I'm fine, James. I can handle my responsibilities. I know you can handle them. But I'm worried about you getting hurt in a busy automotive shop while you're on crutches. Patricia felt frustration building inside her. After months of feeling strong and capable, being back on crutches reminded her of all the vulnerability she'd felt before James came into their lives. I don't want to be treated differently because of my disability, she said, her voice sharper than she intended. James stopped what he was doing and looked at her carefully. Patricia, this isn't about your disability. This is about workplace safety. I wouldn't want anyone navigating around hydraulic lifts and moving vehicles while using crutches. That evening, Kira called from her science program with exciting news about her projects. But when Patricia told her about the prosthetic adjustment, Kira's concern was immediate. Mama, are you okay? Does it hurt? Do you need me to come home? Baby, I'm fine. It's just a routine adjustment. Dr. Wilson wants to make sure my prosthetic fits perfectly. But you sound sad. Patricia realized her daughter could hear the frustration in her voice even over the phone. She took a deep breath and tried to project more confidence. I'm not sad, sweetheart. I'm just impatient. I don't like slowing down when there's so much work to do. Mama, remember what you always tell me? That being strong doesn't mean never needing help. It means asking for help when you need it and accepting it with grace. Patricia smiled despite herself. When did you get so wise? I learned from the strongest woman I know. After hanging up with Kira, Patricia sat in her living room thinking about her daughter's words. She had spent so much energy proving that she could handle anything that she'd forgotten one of the most important lessons she'd learned over the past year, that accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of wisdom. The next morning she arrived at the shop with a different attitude. James, I've been thinking about your suggestion to work from home this week. You're right about the safety concerns. But what if I set up a temporary office here in the customer waiting area? That way I can handle customer communications and administrative tasks without having to navigate the shop floor. James smiled. That's a great compromise. We can set up a proper desk and everything you need right there. Within an hour, they had created a comfortable workspace in the customer area. Patricia found that working from this vantage point actually gave her new insights into customer interactions and shop operations. You know what I'm noticing from here? She told James during a quiet moment. Our customers really appreciate being able to see the work being done on their cars. Maybe we should consider making the shop more open and transparent permanently. That's a brilliant observation. A lot of auto shops try to hide their work areas, but we have nothing to hide. Throughout the week, Patricia discovered that the temporary arrangement had unexpected benefits. She was able to have more detailed conversations with customers, explain the foundation's work to people who were interested, and even recruit 2 new volunteers for their mobility assistance program. When Dr. Wilson called to say her new prosthetic was ready, Patricia almost felt disappointed to leave her temporary setup. How does it feel? James asked as she walked into the shop wearing her newly fitted device. Perfect. Better than the original, actually. Dr. Wilson made some improvements based on my activity patterns. And how do you feel? Patricia considered the question seriously. Grateful. And proud of myself for handling this challenge without letting it shake my confidence. You should be proud. Patricia, watching you this week reminded me of something important. What's that? Strength isn't about never facing difficulties. It's about how you handle difficulties when they arise. And you handled this with such grace and creativity that you actually improved our business operations in the process. Patricia felt a warmth spread through her chest. You know, James, I think this week taught me something too. What's that? I learned that I can face setbacks without losing faith in myself or our future together. I'm not the same frightened woman who crawled across her apartment floor because her prosthetic broke. I'm someone who solves problems and finds opportunities even in challenging situations. James walked over and embraced her. You're not just someone who solves problems, Patricia. You're someone who transforms challenges into strengths. And I love you for that. As they held each other in the middle of their busy shop, surrounded by the sounds of productive work and satisfied customers, Patricia realized that her week of adjustment had been about much more than a prosthetic device. It had been about adjusting her understanding of her own resilience and capacity for growth. August brought a heat wave to the city, but inside Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. Kira had returned from her science program with new knowledge, increased confidence, and a clear vision of her future in engineering. The shop's success had attracted attention from business magazines, and several reporters had come to write about their unique combination of automotive excellence and community service. But for James and Patricia, The most significant development was the deepening of their relationship. What had started as friendship and business partnership had evolved into something beautiful and profound. One evening, after closing the shop, James and Patricia sat in the customer waiting area reviewing foundation applications. Kira was at her desk nearby, working on a presentation about her summer science experience. "Look at this application," Patricia said, handing James a folder. "A young woman who lost her arm in a car accident. She wants to become a veterinarian, but she needs a specialized prosthetic that will allow her to perform delicate procedures." James read through the application carefully. "Dr. Wilson has been working on prosthetics for medical professionals. This could be a perfect case for our foundation. I love how we can help people pursue their dreams, not just their basic needs," Patricia said. As they worked, James found himself watching Patricia's face in the soft light of the waiting area. Her concentration, her compassion for the people they were helping, her quiet strength, everything about her filled him with love and admiration. "Patricia, can I ask you something?" She looked up from the papers. "Of course. When you look at our future, yours, mine, and Kira's, what do you see?" Patricia set down her pen and considered the question seriously. "I see us continuing to build something meaningful together. I see Kira growing up in an environment where she's loved and challenged to reach her potential. I see the foundation helping more families. And I see..." She paused, suddenly shy. "What do you see?" "I see us as a real family. Not just business partners or friends, but people who have chosen to build a life together." James felt his heart race. "Patricia, I want that too. More than I've ever wanted anything." From her desk, Kira looked up from her work. "Are you two going to get married? Because I think you should." Both adults turned to stare at the 9-year-old, who was looking at them with the matter-of-fact expression she wore when stating obvious truths. "Kira," Patricia said, embarrassed. "What? You love each other, right? And Mr. James loves me like a real daddy would. And we're already a family in every way except the official way. So why not make it official?" James and Patricia looked at each other, then started laughing. "Kira Johnson, you are way too smart for your own good," James said. "That's what Mama always tells me. But I'm right, aren't I?" James stood up and walked over to kneel beside Kira's chair. "Can I ask you something very important?" Kira nodded solemnly. "If I asked your mama to marry me and if she said yes, how would you feel about that?" Kira's face broke into the biggest smile James had ever seen. "I would feel like the luckiest kid in the world. I've been praying for a daddy who would love Mama and me the right way. And you do love us the right way, don't you, Mr. James? I love you both more than words can express. You're the best daughter any man could ask for, and your mama is the most amazing woman I've ever met." Patricia felt tears streaming down her face as she watched the exchange between James and her daughter. "Mama, why are you crying?" Kira asked with concern. "Because I'm so happy, baby girl. Sometimes people cry when they're really, really happy." James walked back to Patricia and took her hands in his. "Patricia Johnson, I know this might not be the most romantic setting, surrounded by car repair manuals and foundation paperwork. But this place represents everything we've built together, our partnership, our service to others, and our love for each other." He knelt down in front of her chair. "I don't have a fancy ring yet and I didn't plan this moment. But I can't wait another day to ask you this question." Patricia's hands were shaking as James continued. "Will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband and Kira's father? Will you help me continue building a life that makes a difference in the world while making each other happy every single day?" "Yes," Patricia whispered, then louder, "Yes. Of course yes." Kira jumped up from her desk and ran over to hug both of them. "We're going to be a real family. A real, official family." As the three of them embraced, James felt a completeness he had never experienced before. "I want to do this right," he said. "A proper engagement ring, a beautiful wedding, and legal adoption papers so Kira and I are officially father and daughter. I want to help plan the wedding," Kira announced. "Can we have it here at the shop? This is where our family really began." Patricia and James looked around the waiting area where they'd shared so many conversations, made so many plans, and helped so many people. "Actually, that's a perfect idea," Patricia said. "This place represents everything we value: hard work, helping others, and building something meaningful together." "Then it's settled," James said. "We'll have the wedding right here in 6 months. That will give us time to plan everything properly and for me to officially adopt Kira." "Can I change my name to Kira Rodriguez Johnson?" Kira asked. "I want to keep Mama's name but add yours too." James felt his throat tighten with emotion. "I would be honored to share my name with you." As they sat together making plans for their future, Patricia marveled at how perfectly everything had worked out. What had started with a desperate plea for help had become the foundation for a love story that would last forever. James, can I tell you something? Anything. That first day when Kira brought you home, I was terrified. Not just about my prosthetic, but about accepting help from a stranger. I thought it would make me weak or dependent. And now I know that the strongest thing I ever did was let you into our lives. You didn't just fix my prosthetic leg, James. You helped fix our whole world. James kissed her forehead gently. You fixed my world too, Patricia. I had money and success, but I didn't have purpose or love. You and Kira gave me both. As they locked up the shop together that night, James, Patricia, and Kira walked out as an engaged family, ready to begin the next chapter of their remarkable story together. 6 months later, Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop had been transformed into the most beautiful wedding venue anyone had ever seen. Patricia had insisted on keeping the decorations simple and meaningful rather than elaborate, and the result was breathtaking. White lights were strung throughout the shop, creating a warm glow against the exposed brick walls. The customer waiting area had been expanded with rented chairs for guests, and an archway of white flowers marked the spot where James and Patricia would exchange vows. Most importantly, one wall displayed a timeline of their journey together from Kira's first visit to the shop, through the foundation's growth, to the expansion of their business and family. Mama, you look like a princess. Kira exclaimed as she helped Patricia with her simple but elegant white dress. They had chosen to get ready in the shop's office, which seemed fitting since it was where so many important conversations had taken place. Thank you, baby girl. And you look beautiful too. Kira wore a soft blue dress that matched the shop's color scheme, and she carried a small bouquet of white roses. As James's new daughter and Patricia's maid of honor, she had insisted on having an important role in the ceremony. Are you nervous, Mama? Patricia considered the question as she looked at herself in the mirror. I'm not nervous about marrying James. I'm just amazed that we're here in this moment, about to become a family officially. There was a knock on the office door and James's voice called out, Is everyone decent in there? I have someone who wants to see you. Come in. Kira called. The door opened to reveal James in a sharp navy suit, looking more handsome than Patricia had ever seen him. Behind him stood Dr. Wilson, carrying a special gift. Patricia, I wanted to give you this before the ceremony, Dr. Wilson said, holding out a beautifully wrapped box. Inside was the most elegant prosthetic leg Patricia had ever seen, lightweight, perfectly fitted, and designed with delicate silver detailing that complemented her wedding dress. Dr. Wilson, this is too much, Patricia said, overwhelmed by the gesture. Nonsense. James told me this was going to be the most important day of your life, and I wanted to make sure you felt perfect from head to toe. Besides, this design includes some new technology that will make your daily activities even more comfortable. As Patricia changed into the special prosthetic, she thought about the journey that had brought them to this moment. From the desperate fear of that first broken device to this beautiful, personalized creation, it represented so much more than just mobility. It represented hope, love, and the power of people caring for each other. The ceremony itself was intimate and perfect. 50 guests filled the shop, neighbors, customers, foundation recipients, and the small group of true friends who had supported their unusual love story. The local pastor who officiated had gotten to know their family through the foundation's work, and his words reflected the deep purpose and love that defined their relationship. James and Patricia, Pastor Williams said as they stood holding hands under the flower archway, you have shown all of us what it means to build a marriage on service to others and genuine care for each other's dreams. Your love story began with helping each other, and it will continue as you help others together. When it came time for vows, James went first. Patricia, when Kira walked into my shop that first day, she asked me to fix something that was broken. I thought she meant your prosthetic leg, but now I realize she was asking me to help fix the broken parts of all our lives. You have made me a better man, a more purposeful businessman, and now, a husband and father. I promise to love you and Kira with everything I have, to support your dreams, and to continue building a life with you that makes a difference in the world. Patricia's voice was steady and strong as she spoke her vows. James, you taught me that accepting help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. You showed Kira what it means to have a father who believes in her potential. You turned our small family of 2 into a community of people who care for each other. I promise to be your partner in every sense of the word, to support your dreams as you've supported ours, and to love you with the same generosity you've shown us every single day. When Pastor Williams pronounced them husband and wife, the shop erupted in applause and cheers. But the most beautiful moment came when he added, And now, James, would you like to say something to your new daughter? James knelt down to Kira's level and took out a small wrapped box. Inside was a delicate necklace with a charm that read, Daddy's Girl. Kira Rodriguez Johnson, you are officially my daughter now, and I want you to know that being your father is the greatest honor of my life. I promise to love you, support your dreams, and be the kind of dad you deserve. Kira threw her arms around James's neck. I love you, Daddy. The reception was held right there in the shop, with tables set up between the work bays and a small dance floor in the center. As James and Patricia shared their first dance as husband and wife, surrounded by the tools and equipment that had brought them together, everyone could see the pure joy on their faces. But the biggest surprise of the evening came during the toasts. Patricia stood up and asked for everyone's attention. James and I have an announcement to make, she said, her eyes sparkling with happiness. We're going to be adding another member to our family. The room went silent for a moment as everyone processed what she was saying. Are you saying what I think you're saying? James asked, his voice full of wonder. Patricia nodded, tears of joy streaming down her face. We're having a baby? The room exploded with excitement. Kira jumped up and down, shouting, I'm going to be a big sister. While James swept Patricia into his arms, spinning her around with pure joy. As the celebration continued around them, James and Patricia found a quiet moment together on the shop floor where they had first met. Can you believe this is our life? Patricia asked, leaning against his chest. It's better than anything I could have imagined, James replied. A year ago, I thought success meant having a profitable business. Now I know it means having people to share your life with and work that makes a difference. What's our next project? Patricia asked, smiling up at him. Well, we're going to need to expand the foundation to include educational programs for kids like Kira. We should probably build a playground behind the shop for all the children who come here with their families. And we're going to need to baby-proof this office pretty soon. Patricia laughed. Sounds like we're going to be busy. The best kind of busy, James agreed. As their wedding guests continued celebrating around them, James and Patricia looked out at their community, the customers who had become friends, the foundation recipients who had become family, and the neighbors who had supported their unusual love story from the beginning. 6 months later, little James Jr. was born, and Rodriguez Johnson Auto and Machine Shop officially became a multi-generational family business. The back lot had been converted into a safe play area where Kira could work on her engineering projects while keeping an eye on her baby brother. The foundation had grown beyond their wildest dreams, helping over 200 families with mobility assistance, prosthetic devices, and educational support. They had opened a satellite location specifically for foundation work, staffed by volunteers and part-time employees who shared their mission. But perhaps the most beautiful part of their story was the ripple effect it had created in their community. Other businesses had started their own giving programs, inspired by the Rodriguez Johnson model. The local hospital had partnered with them to create a comprehensive support network for patients with mobility challenges. And Kira, now 11, had started a youth engineering club that met at the shop every Saturday morning. You know what I love most about our life? Patricia asked James one evening as they watched Kira teaching younger children how to build simple machines while baby James played safely in his bouncer. What's that? We didn't just fix what was broken. We built something completely new and beautiful. Something that helps other people build beautiful things too. James looked around their shop at the busy work bays, the thriving foundation office, the children learning and playing safely, and his wife managing it all with grace and wisdom. Patricia Rodriguez Johnson, you are the most amazing woman I have ever known. And this is just the beginning of our story. As the sun set over their shop that evening, casting a warm glow over the family they had built together, Patricia reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It had started with a broken prosthetic leg and a desperate little girl's plea for help. It had become a love story that changed not just their lives, but the lives of everyone they touched. And as baby James gurgled happily in his bouncer while his big sister taught the next generation of engineers, Patricia knew that the best chapters of their story were still to come. The Rodriguez Johnson family had proven that sometimes the most beautiful things in life grow from the most challenging moments, and that love, determination, and a willingness to help others can transform any situation into something miraculous. Their story had begun with a simple question: will you build it? The answer, it turned out, was so much more than anyone could have imagined. Dear amazing viewers, thank you for joining us on this incredible journey with the Rodriguez Johnson family. We hope their story has touched your heart and reminded you of the power of kindness, love, and never giving up on your dreams. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What moment in James and Patricia's story moved you the most? Have you ever experienced unexpected kindness from a stranger that changed your life? What do you think made James immediately want to help Kira and Patricia? How do you think their foundation work will continue to impact their community? What lesson from their love story will you carry with you?